Here we go. Good evening. The City of Peabody Zoning Board of Appeals meets tonight in accordance with Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 40A, and other applicable laws. Tonight's hearing will be conducted in the following manner. The Secretary will read the legal notice or state that such notice has been waived. All applications will not be heard this evening in the order they were received in the City Clerk's office. We are going to go a little bit out of order. Don't get nervous about it. Everyone will be heard. Just that we're taking, I'm not going to say more important because everybody here is important, but we are going out of order. So the petition or petitioner's representative will present the subject application to the board. So if you are here for a variance application, when your name is called, you or your builder or your attorney will come up to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and then you will address the board, tell us why you're here. The chair may limit the length of all remarks. All parties in interest will be given an opportunity to speak either in favor or in opposition to a pending application, and the board may receive similar written communications to be placed on the public record. The petitioner will be given the opportunity to refute any such remarks. Okay, so this is how it works, you people that are here for variances. You come up when your name is called, name and address for the record, tell us why you're here in as much detail as possible. Remember, you are here for dimensional relief. You are not here to complain about your neighbors at all. And you're also not here to give us all your background information about how long you've lived in Peabody. You're here to tell us why you want the variance. At that point, the board will ask you some questions if we have any. I will then ask for the audience, either in favor or in opposition, to come up and speak. If you have neighbors that are in opposition and you would like to come back up to the podium and explain yourself, that is possible. Let me now say, anyone that's listening, either tonight or anyone that plans to go for a variance, please talk to your neighbors in advance. The best and the most efficient applications go through when you have spoken to your neighbors. If you want to put an addition on and it's 5 feet closer to your neighbor's property line than it should be, they should be aware of that before you come for the variance. After that's all said and done, we vote, and once again, I say this every month. Quite frankly, I'm a little tired of hearing it, but I'll say it again. Not everything can get approved. If everything could get approved, there would be no need for this marvelously looking board. So, take a look at the zoning laws, see what actually is allowed, see what you're asking for. If you're asking for the sun, the moon, and the stars, we can't do that. We're a very, very fair board, one of the fairest around, but not everything can get approved. Once you approved or denied, the decision will be typed and filed with the city clerk. Once the decision is filed with the city clerk, there is a 20-day appeal period. You can't do anything for 20 days. In compliance with the open meeting law, this hearing is also being recorded by our clerk. When you come up to the podium, please just press the button once till the red light comes on and speak directly into the microphone. The only other thing I have to say is, and it's very small this evening, so I don't think that we'll have this problem, but once you come up and speak, and if you have something else to say, please don't speak again from your seat. Just raise your hand. Everybody has an opportunity to speak at the podium. So, that being said, we are going to start tonight with, we unfortunately had an open meeting violation that was given to the Attorney General's office. Allegations were made against this board regarding the open meeting law. I'm going to read the conclusion We were told also by the Attorney General's office that we needed to make this public, which we were going to do anyway. So I am going to read this. We're then going to accept the decision, and then we have a few board members that would like to speak on this issue. The Attorney General's conclusion states, after reviewing all the evidence, we find that the board violated the open meeting law on May 11th and October 7th when member Osborne emailed the full board regarding asserting safe harbor for the Endicott Street project and the Newbury Street project. We do not find that the board otherwise deliberated outside of a posted meeting regarding asserting safe harbor for the Endicott Street or Newbury Street projects. For all these reasons that were stated, we find that the board violated the open meeting law on May 11th and October 7th when member Osborne emailed the full board regarding asserting safe harbor for the Endicott Street and Newbury Street projects. We ordered the board's immediate and future compliance with the open meeting law and caution that similar future violations could be considered evidence of intent to violate the law. Additionally, we order the board, if it has not done so, to release May 11th and October 7th emails to the public. We now consider the complaint addressed by this determination to be resolved. This determination does not address any other complaints that may be pending with the board or with our office. It's a few pages long. The emails, if anybody wants them, are available. I need a motion to accept November 18, 2022 complaint decision from the Attorney General's office, including 5/11/21 and 10/7/21 Osborne emails. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, I would like, I believe, member Mr. Zelotes would like to speak on this matter, and then Mr. Osborne would like to speak.
Yeah, I just wanted to address to everyone that the six-page decision, the full six-page decision, is available. If anybody wants to read it, you can read it and rely upon the full decision, not snippets, not blurbs that may have been put out in other areas or avenues around the city of Peabody recently. This was only just determined and issued out this, I believe it was issued this past Friday. It's been very quickly moved around the city. It's important to note, I think, in reading this decision, that there were a number of allegations that the Attorney General's office found that the majority of these allegations were either untimely or not properly based in the correct law or whatever it may have been in order to determine there were any other violations. It strictly has to do with these two emails, which were simply a reply all by Mr. Osborne. It's important to also note that in reviewing back onto these emails, once we learned about this, there were no replies to the reply all. So no member of this board, no staff member, Ms. McGrath, nobody replied to any of these to conduct any additional communication, whether it was by phone, text message, email, or anything else. So while these are technically violations of the open meeting law because they were replied all to the entire board, I do think it's important for complete transparency for everyone to understand that there were no other communications regarding these issues outside of any meeting by this board.
I gotta find it. Thank you very much, Stephen, for that. Since it was my name that was mentioned, first I want to do is apologize if my actions brought any discredit to this board or to the city that I proudly volunteer to serve. Contrary to what some may believe, please be assured that my actions were in no way intended to discredit this board or the city, nor deny any citizen the right to speak on any issues or underhandedly favor one side against the other. As a matter of fact, it was simply my effort to investigate the board's options regarding concerns brought to our attention in a letter by 2 elected officials of the city. Believe me, I do not desire any headlines in any newspapers or on social media. I only desire to serve the city to the best of my ability. I'm proud of this board for not dipping their toes in the political cesspool that this issue became. I don't feel the need to apologize for my actions, for my beliefs, what I thought were right then, and what I still believe were right. And I just want to thank the chairman for that time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zelotes and Mr. Osborne. Okay. That being said, that being done, we are now going on to the continued application of the residents at the Mills 58 LLC for a 40B comprehensive permit. We have Attorney Seligson, who is going to address the board and the public.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is Damon Seligson. I'm a lawyer with the law firm of Sheehan, Finney, Bass & Green in Boston, and I'm counsel for the board. And what I have provided you is a copy of the decision that has been drafted for the 40B application for a comprehensive permit by the residences at Mills 58 LLC for the project titled The Residences at Mills 58. The decision was drafted and worked on by myself and Mr. Panos, who is counsel for the applicant. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to read as much as I can of the decision without putting you people to sleep. And then at the end of that, you will deliberate and vote. Procedurally, the applicant, on or about April 20, 2022, the applicant filed with the city clerk for the city of Peabody, a comprehensive permit application with all plans, appendices, attachments, schedules, reports, surveys, and studies, etc., as referenced in the application, pursuant to General Laws, Chapter 40B, and supporting regulations at 760 Code of Mass Regs 56, and pursuant to the City of Peabody Zoning Board of Appeals, Chapter 40B, for a comprehensive permit. The application was filed after the applicant's receipt of a determination of project eligibility under the Local Initiative Program issued by the Massachusetts Department of Housing and Community Development on March 16th, 2022. The application details the applicant's original proposal, which was to construct 51 units of rental housing on property known and numbered as 58 Pulaski Street in Peabody, Essex County, Massachusetts. The complex comprises of 3 buildings known as Buildings A, B, and C with frontage along Pulaski Street and Pulaski Rear Street. The site is entirely located in the City of Peabody's Light Industry Zoning District and the Mill Overlay District, as more particularly described in the City of Peabody's zoning ordinance. The site is subject to the following Peabody City Council special permits. Those are identified on page 1 at A, B, and C. Special permit number 23 is to establish a brewery and brew pub at 58 Pulaski Street. Special permit number 36 is to allow for indoor recreation, specifically a fitness classes at 58 Pulaski Street. And special permit number 22 is to allow for indoor recreation at 58 Pulaski Street. Ingress and egress to the site is proposed from the newly designed Waters River Road running parallel to Pulaski Street and accessed through Pulaski Street. Mills 58 LLC is a Massachusetts limited liability company and is the owner of the property pursuant to a quitclaim deed recorded with the Essex County South District Registry of Deeds. The application was filed under the local initiative program administered through the DHCD as a so-called, quote, friendly 40B. As required by the Act, the application was accepted by the Peabody City Clerk on behalf of the City of Peabody Zoning Board of Appeals on April 20th, 2022, which the board timely commenced its hearings on May 16th, 2022. Through the pendency of the hearings, the development density was reduced from the original proposed 51 units to 45 units, along with other alterations to parking and traffic circulation, and addition of commercial uses in Building A, proposed within the lower level. In summary, the proposed development consists of 45 units of rental housing apartments with a variety of units sizes, 21 bedroom, 22 bedroom, and 5 3-bedroom apartments with 99 on-site exterior parking spaces in the existing Building A, with 4 floors of residences above commercial uses proposed on the lower level. There are 4 accessible apartment units proposed. 12 of the units, 25%, will be designated affordable for the residents earning a maximum of 80% of the area median income as prescribed by the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development. The application was submitted to and accepted by the board with supporting plans, specifications, studies, schedules, and appendices as revised and referenced below. On page 2, I'm not going to read everything, but that is the extent of what the record is made up of. Items 1 through 18 on pages 2 and 3. The application's development team consists of the residences at Mills 58 LLC, care of Jason Panos. Site owner is Mills 58 LLC, care of Attorney Jason Panos, and the developer consultant is the New England Cabinet and Construction LLC. The civil engineer is Peter Ogren, President and Anthony Capicchetti, project manager from Hayes Engineering, and the permitting attorney again is Attorney Jason Panos. The architect is Eric, I'm going to butcher this name, but I apologize, Eric Jurdy of Seaglass Architects, and the housing consultant is Dean Anderson. The hearings in this matter were open on May 16th, 2022. They were continued, and ultimately the board closed its public hearing on October 17th, 2022. Tonight the board will deliberate and vote, and on page 16 is a section where you will vote on this decision. Peer review was conducted in accordance with the provisions of the Act, 760 CMR 5605, subsection 5, and commenced on or about July 7th, 2022, when the applicant executed an agreement with the city's Department of Public Services. And the board has made the requisite notifications to the town's various departments and offices, including the Planning Board, Conservation Commission, the Police Department, the Fire Department, the Board of Health. The record at page 5 identifies what is consistent in the record. And that, again, I'm not going to read all of that, but that is a detailed list of what is included in the record. At page 7 of the decision are the findings that the board has been asked to make. And I'll read most of those. The application, the board will be asked to vote that the application conforms to and was submitted in compliance with the Act and the Peabody rules and regulations, including without limitation the comprehensive permit checklist and distribution list. The hearing was duly and properly noticed and called to order in accordance with the open meeting law, pursuant to the open meeting law as amended and reflected by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts executive orders. The hearing was properly conducted in accordance with the provisions of the Act, as well as with the Peabody rules and regulations and the applicable provisions of the open meeting law. The applicant and the development are qualified pursuant to 760 Code of Massachusetts Regs 56.04, pursuant to that Massachusetts Department of Housing and Community Development project eligibility letter dated March 16th, 2022, and the project eligibility requirements as detailed in the letter established in 760 Code Mass Regs 5604. Finding number 5, the City of Peabody does not have 10% of its total housing units available to low and moderate income households according to the DHCD subsidized housing inventory as defined in 760 CMR 56.02. As proposed, the development is set forth in detail in the application and includes, as stated, an existing 5-story building totaling 45 dwelling units, 21 bedroom, 22 bedroom, and 5 3-bedroom units, 99 exterior parking spaces proposed with a total of 4 accessible parking spaces for the facility in compliance with the Americans with Disabilities Act and Mass AAB guidelines. The project will be served by municipal water and sewer. The development presented in the application as conditioned is consistent with local needs as required by the Act and consistent with the City of Peabody Housing Production Plan adopted February 2021 and approved by DHCD in March 2021. Specifically, as stated therein, the City of Peabody identified a critical need to increase the supply of housing at a variety of levels of affordability, including both rental and home ownership options. In this case, the development will provide both market rate and affordable housing options consistent with the goals established in accordance with the HPP. The development will provide additional rental housing stock, which furthers the goal of increasing the number of affordable units by 12 units, while all 45 units will count towards the SHI. The waivers from the zoning ordinance and other applicable ordinances requested by the applicant are attached at Exhibit A, and they are detailed. They start on page 17 and run all the way to the end of this document, which is page 40. So I'm not going to read those waivers, but they are attached to the decision. Subject to the conditions imposed below, the board finds, consistent with the record cited above, with particular attention to the board's exhaustive peer review and application revisions, that the development has been thoroughly reviewed and addresses local concerns related to protection of health, safety, traffic, circulation, pedestrian access, and safety, open space, and site and building design. The uses set forth in the special permits and proposed pursuant to the comprehensive permit evidenced by this decision shall coexist at the site without hindrance or detriment to the existence of those underlying special permits. And then subject in all respects to the applicant's list of requested exemptions, this decision is a comprehensive permit issued by the board in accordance with the Act, that is a decision of the board acting for, quote, all local boards as defined by the Act. On page 8 is the actual decision that you will vote on. Again, it summarizes what the proposed development is in its reduced form. The conditions are included at page 9. First condition is the development shall be constructed in substantial conformance with those plans, and they are identified in subsection A and B. The development shall include no more than 45 dwelling units, 21 bedroom, 22 bedroom, and 5 3-bedroom units served by 99 exterior parking spaces with a total of 4 accessible parking spaces for the facility in compliance with the ADA and Mass AAB guidelines. Again, the requested waivers and the list of requested exemptions are attached at Exhibit A. The site access shall be through the newly created Waters River Way as identified on the plans. At Condition B, there are housing restrictions which speak to the 25% of the units, totaling 12 units, to be reserved for 30 years for rental and occupancy of households earning at or below the 80% of the AMI. With respect to the architecture, the buildings and units in the building shall substantially conform to the design plans. changes to the exterior building materials shall be subject to review and approval by the Planning and Community Development Director. The conditions on infrastructure start on page 10. Among other things, stormwater management system within the site and the property, which are expressly not part of municipal management system. The project shall be, the project shall remain forever private, and the city shall not have now or ever any legal responsibility for the operation, maintenance, or repair of the stormwater management system, interior roadways, driveways, and parking, snow plowing and removal, sewer and water connections, lighting, trash disposal, and all site utilities, including domestic water, fire protection, electric, telephone, and cable systems. The applicant shall operate, maintain, and/or repair all those items listed in 10A through G above. The project shall be connected to municipal water and sewer systems. The applicant shall contribute funds to be performed by the City of Peabody for 2-to-1 inflow and infiltration removal within the system tributary to the Dobbs Road pump station, as is typical for residential development projects in the city, and the project expense is capped at $97,300, being the applicant's I&I removal fee. The applicant shall also contribute funds capped at $10,000 to engage the City of Peabody's sewer station consultant engineer to evaluate existing hydraulic grade line and storage conditions and provide a conceptual design memorandum for the city for upgrading the Dobbs Road sewer station. Section E of the conditions deals with the pre-construction review. The development shall comply with the Americans with Disabilities Act and the Massachusetts Architectural Access Board guidelines. Prior to the issuance of the building permit, the applicant shall obtain approval by the building commissioner upon recommendation from the Director of Community Development and Planning of that plan in 8 sheets entitled MOD Shared Parking Plan Residences at Mills 58, dated October 26, 2022. Section F of the conditions deals with construction. Essentially, the applicant shall comply excuse me, with all state and federal law, as well as comply with City of Peabody ordinances, and will be as minimally disruptive to the residences and businesses as possible, and cooperate with local law enforcement and other agencies that service the city. Section G on page 14 deals with post-construction and pre-occupancy permit review processes. The applicant will provide certain information as detailed in this section to the city and as a condition of the permit. And then there are ongoing additional provisions and ongoing conditions at page 14, section H, dealing with vegetation and sightlines, costs of inspections, and allowing the board to retain jurisdiction over the project to ensure compliance. So that's essentially the decision in a nutshell. Obviously, there's a lot more. I've glossed over some of the meat of it, but for the most part, that's essentially what the decision reads, and so it's up to the board to deliberate and then vote. Okay?
Thank you. There's water there. There's a bottle of water for you. Thank you, Attorney Seligson. So I'm sure we've all had a chance to go over this and over it and over it. We've listened to everybody. We've approved what has been brought before us. We have everything in front of us. We've heard from the public. We've heard from attorneys. We've heard from officials, third-party reviewers. I need now to know if there's anything else that needs to be stated or discussed or commented on just by the board. Chris.
Just, it may be a typo, but on page 2, we identify the egress as Waters Rivers Road, and then later in the document on page 10, we're calling it Waters Rivers Way. We can just clear that up.
So I'm going to call on Mr.
I believe it's road.
Road. So on page 10, cross out way and put road. That will be corrected, for sure. Good eyes. Yeah, not bad, Chris. Mr. Gilbert. No other comments, corrections? So, road. So now we need a motion to approve the decision as read.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Yes.
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 Yes, this 40B project, 58 Mills LLC on Pulaski Street has been approved. Thank you all very, very much. Thank you, Attorney Seligson. You too. Thank you very much. Now, we are going to hear the continued application of the administrative appeal of J.D. Raymond Transport, care of Attorney Kimberly Crowhaw, from the provisions of the zoning ordinance, et cetera, and the premise is known as 27R Farm Ave. Petitioner seeks the administrative appeal from the building permit. Let's hope that this can come to an end quickly, probably not this evening. I need a motion to accept 11/18/22 Crowhaw memo.
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. Crowhaw, do you have an update at all?
Good evening, members of the board, and I apologize. I was just looking for my agenda. I wasn't sure if you called my appeal from the building permit, which I thought was finalized in October, or called the administrative appeal by the residences at Farm Ave against our, essentially asking for zoning enforcement against us. And I can talk about either. I just thought that the other application had been finalized, but, is that, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so the update on the J.D. Raymond site is we had submitted a letter on Friday giving a short update, but basically J.D. Raymond is moving forward on the Conservation Commission process. We had submitted and updated, our engineer, GZA, had submitted a preliminary outline of comments to the town's conservation agent, acting conservation agent for this application, and then has also forwarded that to the peer reviewer for the city. And they're working on scheduling a call to talk about the outlines of that so that we can get our plans in order to submit by the deadline of November 30th. The next Conservation Commission hearing is December 14th. And so it's our hope that we can have these back and forth conversations with the peer reviewer and having Mr. Callahan as the acting conservation agent taking a look at it and come up with a full application proposal that gets submitted by November 30th that could hopefully have us in a position to have the Conservation Commission vote on the application at their December 14th hearing.
I believe we would, is that it?
That's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I believe Mr. Callahan is here. Okay, we would like to hear everything you have to say to us.
What do you want? What are you asking? I'm not sure what you're asking.
I guess when we made the motion last time to have you come, it was out of an abundance of caution on our part to make sure that the applicants, being J.D. Raymond, were following through with the promises that they were making to this board with conservation. Mr. Tallarico was previously the interim between the two, and as you know, his decision was that certain aspects needed to be completed, and we were looking to say, okay, well, that's wonderful, but the term good faith was being thrown around a lot, so we figured we need some inside information from you as to what's actually happening so we can determine whether or not that good faith effort is in fact going forward, so that we're not just simply relying upon an applicant's assertion.
Yeah, I would say at this point, the good faith effort is happening. You know, I think the only deadline date I heard from the former building commissioner Tallarico was, you know, to submit a notice of intent to the Conservation Commission by April 14th, which they did. And then basically since that was, then it became open in May, at the May Conservation Commission meeting. And then we went out to peer review. We got comments on the peer review. GZA addressed several comments, but not all of the comments. So our peer reviewer had another, they submitted revisions. They didn't address all the comments. They revised those plans, and again, it came back where they didn't address all the comments. And I think at that point, GZA understood that they were going to need to revise the plans significantly or address several comments that they just couldn't do with the existing plans that they were developing. And then that was around September. That was like the September hearing, and then in October they asked for a continuance to, I believe, December, which the commission approved, and they have until November 30th to submit the revised plans and whatever additional information to be on the December hearing. They've stated to me several times that they intend and should or plan to meet the November 30th deadline. At that point, we most likely will have the peer reviewer review them again. Hopefully everything's, it complies with all the comments. And do I think they'll make a decision in December? I don't know. January, I think is probably more likely. I think we should have a decision by January. That's kind of the way I see it playing out moving forward. But overall, they kind of have submitted on time when they needed to.
Through the chair. So it sounds like there are still some comments that need to be addressed under peer review.
After the last peer review, and I think it was August, that's when they decided they needed to revise the plans to address the comments.
Have those revised plans been submitted yet, or is that part of the November 30th?
That's
deadline?
part of the November 30th submittal.
So if they're not passed in by November 30th, it gets continued till December?
I mean, it's up to the commission. I would, more than likely make a recommendation at that point to deny. But ultimately, it comes down to the commission making that decision.
Well, we would really like to see this wrapped up no later than January. And that's basically my feeling. We've been on this long enough.
Mm-hmm.
I believe so. We're waiting, right now, everybody's just waiting for conservation.
Yep.
So, one way or the other, I have great faith that this will be done and over with by January. Please.
Through the chair, if I could, Brendan. One thing I kept hearing was they had more comments to address. They didn't address the comments. They didn't address the comments. Are they the same issues? Can you construe this as dragging their feet?
No, I don't think they're dragging their feet.
Okay.
I think they realized after that second round of peer review comments that we weren't going to let those go, and they needed to be addressed, and they had to revise their plans.
Okay.
I've seen, they did, as the attorney just mentioned, that they submitted like a preliminary response. It does appear that most of the comments are addressed, but I would want the peer reviewer to confirm that. But most of the comments look like they've been addressed.
Okay, thank you.
So through the chair. So we just heard from Attorney Croha, and we do have that correspondence that's dated November 18th, 2022. And it does show that, at least a demonstration that she understands all the deadlines and what needs to be submitted. So if I'm following you, the deadline for submittal will be November 30th. There'll be a peer review. There might be some discussion in the December meeting, but not a vote. But you're pretty confident that a vote could take place in January?
Assuming all the comments are, assuming the peer reviewer says the comments are addressed. I just don't know. That's a two-week window between November 30th and December 14th. So I just don't know if the peer reviewer will have the comments by that date.
Okay.
If we are able to get a letter from the peer reviewers stating all the comments are addressed, the commission could make a decision.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
So we need a motion to continue to our December 19th meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, we'll hear this again, and not too many months after that, December 19th. On to the application of, not going to try to say that last name.
I'll do it. Item number 2 on tonight's agenda is the application of Reen Goshish for a variance from the provisions of the zoning ordinance 2020 as amended. Section 7.2 as it applies to the premise known as 134 Lynn Street, Peabody, Massachusetts. Petitioner seeks a variance to build a bulkhead, entrance, egress, and requires relief to side yard corner lot where 15 feet is required and 9.6 feet is proposed. The property is located in an R1A zoning district.
Hi, the member of boards. This is Reem Goshe. I'm the owner of. This is Reem Goshe. I'm the owner of 134A Lynn Street in Peabody. How you doing? Yeah, my mother, she's an elderly and she lives with me, and I need to add room for her, and I need that emergency exit because this down of the basement doesn't have any just one exit, and the really corner of the basement. So I applied for to get a permit to have another emergency exit.
So if I'm looking through the chair, if I'm looking at the plan correctly, so what you're proposing is a bulkhead as you face the property, it looks like on the right side, on the Lynn Street side, and then out back where it says proposed addition 5 by 8, is that just a enclosed outdoor area for stairs?
The contractor.
What's the question again? I'm sorry.
The bulkhead is pretty self-explanatory on the right side. Yeah. But I'm looking at the proposed addition on the rear.
You have to speak here.
You can't do that, you have to speak.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, the one you were pointing.
No. Speak to the mic to all of us. We need to understand what you want here.
Okay. That one is the proposed bathroom, adding a bathroom. The other side, this side here, that's the stairway.
So the bulkhead is the stairway, the rear jog, if we call it that, bump out, is a bathroom.
The variant on the bulkhead.
Right here, yeah.
I don't believe they're in
So-
front of us for the bathroom. I think that was granted by permit. So I think we're just talking about the bulkhead.
Anybody in the audience to speak in favor? In opposition? Hearing none, the matter is before the board.
Motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
Motion to approve?
Call vote, please.
Yes.
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 Yes, you've been approved.
Thank you.
One is number 3, Melvin Raymond, or Raymond Melvin.
Number 3 on tonight's agenda is the application of Raymond Melvin for a variance from the provisions of the zoning ordinance 2020 as amended section 7.2 as it applies to the premise known as 21 Dale Street in Peabody, Massachusetts. Petitioner seeks a variance to build an addition and requires relief to rear yard setback where 35 feet is required, 14 feet is proposed. The property is located in an R1 zoning district.
Exactly. Ray Melvin, 21 Dale Street. I'm looking for a rear setback variance tonight for a living room, I guess you could call it. Off the,
Wait a minute, we don't say we guess. Is it a living room or isn't it?
I call it a great room.
Okay.
So the proposed addition goes off the back side of the house. It's going to be 24 by 30, so I guess it's 30 feet long. Sorry. I have some larger ones here if you'd like to see them.
Okay, so I have one question, and I hope I get the correct answer. In our packet dated September 19th, 2018, you asked for a variance, and it was granted with a condition to take the existing shed down. And here, I see an existing shed to the left back of your property. You need to address that.
Yep, that's correct. So when I bought the house in 2018, there was an existing shed. It was basically condemned where my addition went onto the house on the left side. So on the previous plot plan, there was a shed basically where the back left corner of the house was. So the board told me that it had to be removed. So I removed it, and there's a new shed now. So I took out the old one, the house that I bought, destroyed that, built my addition, and now there's a different shed, a 10 by 12 shed.
That you got a building permit for?
Correct.
You sure?
I believe so. Yeah, I did.
Ms. McGrath, can you check that for me? So while she's checking that, Mamma Mia, this is small.
I know it's small, sorry.
Did you do this? I mean, did you ask for it to be this small?
This is what they gave me.
Okay, so we have the existing dwelling, then we have your proposed addition, which is how large?
24 by 30 feet.
What's the little jog out 12 by 30?
So that's gonna just be like an overhang. It's not actually living space, it's just gonna be like,
Oh, proposed overhang.
yeah, it's just like a,
Proposed shed, proposed pool. You don't need any relief
No.
for that. I believe your lot coverage is within reason. Yep. So I'm just waiting to see, just to make everything legal about that existing shed.
We need, what's the size of it? Do you know the size of the shed?
10 by 12.
So So under 7.1.5, anything under the 200 would not require a building permit.
So it looks like you're safe. Anybody in the audience to speak in favor? In opposition? Any other questions by the board? Yes. You couldn't see it either?
I asked for his glasses on top of mine. Just through the chair for clarification, the plan in front of me is dated September 8th, 2022. The plan shows I think I answered my own question. All set.
All right, so there was no public participation. Anyone who wanted to speak? Hearing none, the matter is before the board.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Roll call vote.
Yes.
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 You are all set, yes.
Thank you very much.
Next one. Number 4.
Number 4 on tonight's agenda is an application of Angel and Mary Fernandez Sr., care of Robert Zulli, for a variance from the provisions of the zoning ordinance 2020 as amended, section 7.1.5, as it applies to the premise known as 73 Bartholomew Street in Peabody, Massachusetts. Petitioner seeks a variance modification to a previously granted variance and requires relief to where the initial plan showed the stairs on the inside of the garage, and the design change reflects the stairs on the outside of the garage. The property is located in an R1 zoning district.
Before you begin, and you tell me your name and address for the record, I just want to know a little bit of the explanation of the changing of the stairs, which I'm sure you're going to give us anyways.
Sure. Robert Zulli, general contractor for 73 Bartholomew Street in Peabody. In June, you guys approved us for a variance to increase the garage size from the maximum of Peabody standards, which is 500 to 616, which was great. The client is requesting, if possible, we move the stairs from the inside of the garage because the garage is so small when we pull 2 vehicles in, if we could put it on the outside of the garage, which we do have 46 and almost a half feet to the right of the garage, and 120 feet to the rear of the property. So there's adequate space there by zoning, but we need your permission to do so.
It makes sense to me. Questions, comments?
Well, thanks for being honest.
Yes, yes. Very, very nice that you just didn't go ahead and do it and suffer the consequences afterwards of tearing it down. Anybody in the audience to speak in favor? In opposition? You have to move away and let them speak. You have to move away.
Michelle Pulio, 77A Bartholomew Street. So one thing is, the stairs are there. So that's not a request to get them built. It's a request to get them approved because they're already on the outside. And there's, beyond the stairs, there are other revisions to the plans that were made that weren't at the initial hearing. So initially, we didn't come to the variance hearing because it was a very simple plan with some, additional footage. They wanted some storage, which, I don't want to stop anyone from having a garage and some storage. I have no issue with that whatsoever. It's since gone beyond that. There was a bunch of irrigation that was dug. There was a bunch of skylights that are going in, extra electrical. I think we can all agree that people enjoy skylights, not boxes. So my concern is that this isn't being built for storage. This is being built for other uses. And I do have some Facebook post from the contractor that sort of says, hashtag man cave, hashtag studio, and all of this stuff. I liked what you said initially, Ms. Chairperson, about, a lot of conflict can be resolved if neighbors speak to each other and sort of are on the level with one another. And I'll be honest with you, I feel the wool was pulled over my eyes, and I'm very unhappy about what's going on. And we had that whole home built that I think maybe you do or don't know, but the history of that home is it was not always a residential home. I think it was either mixed use or zoned commercial. There was a business in there. We've lived there for 2 years. We had all the construction going on next door. And I think if you call the building inspector, he wouldn't know my name other than for this particular issue. So I'm not, the neighbor next door that complains about everything. That particular contractor came over, we chatted, we had conversations. He let me know how things were going along the way, what was and wasn't going to be done, if we had any problems with it. This really hasn't gone that way, and unfortunately, until the thing is almost built, I really can't tell you that it's different than the plans that were presented, because I'm under the impression they're going to build what they presented to you. And I can tell you that they haven't. There's all kinds of vents on the roof. This is not going to be used. Boxes don't need venting. Boxes don't need all of that stuff. So this has gone above and beyond storage in a garage.
Thank you. Can I have the contractor up again, please? Now, I'm going to be as diplomatic as I can, but it's not one of my strengths. Please tell me that you did not stand there and make a fool out of me in particular, saying, "Isn't this wonderful?" that you came to us before you put the stairs on the other side, and you stood there and shook your head like, yeah, aren't I a good contractor because I came here before I put the stairs on the other side. Please tell me those stairs are not already built.
The stairs are built.
You stood there and you lied to this board. Basically, you thought you were just going to get away with this because I was so happy that you came to us, as Mr. Osborne stated, you came to us ahead of the game.
No, ma'am.
Explain yourself.
So we did talk to the building inspector about it, and he said, just stop working on what you're doing, go to the board, ask them for approval, and if they're okay with it, then we're okay with it. Which we did. Correct. And all the other accusations are, is it okay if I take like a 5-second break? Thank you. No, it's okay. Can I just go to the bathroom, come right back? Thanks.
We'll take a 1.5, 2-minute recess.
We're on a 5-minute break.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, it was, I had a mouth surgery today, so I couldn't eat all day.
Oh, do you want some water? We have water.
No, I'm good. I haven't eaten all day, and
You thought you were going to faint.
I felt a little.
I have that effect on people.
Okay, so.
Okay.
Let's start over. The first concern was the drainage.
Oh,
Oh, sorry.
okay. Go ahead.
Okay.
Start again.
So the drainage, right, excessive drainage.
Drainage?
They said that there was excessive drainage.
Oh, okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. The excessive drainage is for, to retain water. So the back of the lot's extremely steep, so we had to put riprap on the wall, which is like a 6-inch plus stone in order to grab the water. Then there was a drainage, essentially a silt sock fabric that grabs the water and brings it into
That's fine. We get
whatever,
it.
a dry well.
Okay.
The gutters also go into dry wells. That's why there's excessive, but that's required, and we do it on all our projects. The excessive electrical, we wire everything. I wouldn't say excessively because there is no code, and we talked to the building inspector about this, about how much electrical we're allowed to put in places. We always add extra outlets because a lot of people use the garages that we build as shops and stuff. They want to plug stuff in, and a couple outlets here and there is a normal garage. If you were to pull into your house and go in, it's just never enough. So upstairs in the attic area, storage area, is extra storage. It has a vent on the roof, which is a humidity vent. This way in the summer, as the heat comes in, it doesn't create moisture, which ends up causing rot and mold on things that can be stored in attics. So it's just a ventilation system. Because there's no heating, because there's no AC, it gets really, really hot in the winter and really, really cold in the summer. So that's just to pump out.
And skylights?
What's that?
The skylights?
The skylights were, I don't know why our client's obsessed with skylights. If you look at the house, they're all over the place. He wanted skylights added, so we did put them in. I talked to the building inspector about it, and he said, I mean, they're fine, they're skylights, you can have it, it's weird. He said, but Rob, I gotta be honest with you, it looks weird what you're building here, right? Why the electrical, why the skylights, why that of an attic? And I said, well, I'll get an affidavit signed for you saying that it will be not used for anything else. And he said, well, that would be great. So I have a signed affidavit, which is in that packet, that says it is only to be used as storage space.
And I'm going to read this. This is to the City of Peabody Building Commissioner and Inspectional Services. We understand the issue you may have with the additional storage above our garage based on the extra electrical and the skylights. We have no intention in making the space a finished space, neither now or in the future. It is solely to be used as additional storage for our large family, and it is signed and dated 9/27/22. My question to you right now is the space above the garage large enough or tall enough or high enough for somebody to walk all the way around and
No, you can only walk till, it's about half of it is head height, and the other half, the rafters come down to.
okay, okay,
Yeah,
all right.
almost like an old colonial house where the upstairs bedroom comes down, and then you can put like a dresser, but it's floored, and that's about it.
And you do not need a variance for the stairs on the other side, but what you needed was to revise your original
Correct.
decision, because once that's written and you change it, you have to come before us.
Correct.
And I do believe that the building inspector did stop you from working till you came before us.
Well, he didn't put like a stop work order in, but he just said, Rob, can you just hold on because the neighbors are getting upset. They saw the Facebook post, and of course, that was just our way of using a project that we're using as marketing, right? Because in other towns, we have done it where people can do whatever
You
they
market on
want.
Facebook?
What's that?
You do marketing on Facebook?
Correct.
I hate Facebook.
Me too. Yeah. There's only Facebook and Instagram for the business, nothing personal. Agreed. But yeah, and it does help with the business. But in this case, I mean, marketing isn't against the law in Peabody, so we are allowed to do that, but we are not allowed to use it for anything else other than storage, which is what the affidavit is for. And Mark said, well, just go in front of them, talk to them, and just hold off on everything you're doing until then. And I said, that's fine, no problem.
Okay, and I'm sorry, I mean, I really thought that, and this is a big case in point. We have many times, and it's extremely unfortunate, have builders come before us, say one thing, and they do something else. So we're almost overly concerned with, you know, every and, if, but that comes out of your mouth. And I didn't mean to come on that
No,
strongly.
no, it's totally fine.
Because I didn't want you to faint.
It's just no calories, whole day.
All right, so I think that clears things up for me. Let's see, any other comments by the board?
I think it's just that as long as we have that affidavit, and it's on the record tonight that it will not be used now or forever as a living space, then it conforms with the prior variance.
I think we should put a condition on it in any event. I wouldn't call this an affidavit. I'd
Right.
call it a signed statement.
Yeah.
So,
So we'll condition it.
yeah.
Anybody else? You want to come back up? Oh, Chris.
Just to you and to the rest of the board, I've only been on here a few months. It's a pet peeve, I guess you could call it. You know, these jobs being done and then coming to us. I'm done with them. I'm not going to support this. Enough is enough. We're here for a reason. The rules are the rules. The contractor's been around. He clearly knows he should have came to us beforehand. I'm not going to support this.
My only other comment is that the only reason the building inspector went there was because I called. Otherwise, these stairs are in place. So this, with Mark telling him, stop what you're doing and all that, and the affidavit was, again, elicited because I called with the explicit concern that skylights and all of this stuff is living space. Call it what you, then, you know, your building inspector said to me, define living space. I'm calling you as the building inspector to say, I think there's living space, so what do we do about that? And he's asking me what living space is, and I have to define it. So I think this whole thing has just gone sideways, and I don't know if Mark has some kind of stake in this or what have you, but I find it interesting that September 27th, I emailed Carla, I emailed a couple people that day. And funny that this affidavit is signed September 27th. No, I have cameras. No sooner did I hang up that phone, Mark Menard was next door having them sign, your neighbor's a complaint and just sign this affidavit so that, you know, they hush up. That's what this is. I hope you see through that. I mean, I am putting it in your hands, but I hope you see through what this really is. And as I mentioned to Mark, I don't want to be that neighbor that's calling all the time saying, they're over there, they're living in it, they're having friends over, they're doing this. I'm trying to do this proactively so that we don't have that controversy, because just like they want to enjoy their property and their space, I'd like to do the same. And this window now is from here to here. So here's my living room. I look out my window, I'm looking at them in their garage. I can hear everything they're saying. I heard their asphalt guy come over and say, you can get $2,000 a month for this. So whether or not they intend to use it, other people are thinking they're going to use it to live in it. And I can hear that because I'm from here to here, because they wanted to build this thing so darn close to my house.
We're going to condition that there's no living space, no, Mr. Zalotis will eloquently state it. But once it's a condition, it basically is like a law.
Okay.
If they,
One time.
I don't want to be that girl. That's all I'm saying, is I don't want to be that girl. I'm coming to you guys saying, this plan that was initially submitted to you, we all got the wool pulled over our eyes, because if you came and saw what was next door, you'd have a lot more questions than you have tonight. It's hard to get a visual when you're looking at the plot plan. I was also told that we were going to get a new building plan, which wasn't provided. We got a plot plan, but the plot plan shows stairs from the outside to the inside. Whoop-de-doo. It doesn't show all of these other things that were done that really weren't the initial. Why was there a building plan submitted with the initial thing, but not with everything else? You know, I just find it very convenient, and I find the timing of everything. I have my email to Carla, September 27th. So, you know, funny enough, they went over there that day.
No, I'm good. I'm good.
Thank you.
I think we're going to have a site visit. It just seems like there's one too many questions. So we're going to continue this till the December
Meeting.
14th? December 20th? December 19th.
So moved.
So I need a motion for that?
I think Heath just made the motion, so I'll second it.
Okay. So as a board, we'll vote on this in a second, but we can either do this together, or we can go at our own leisure, but we need to go take a look at this property and have a clearer view as to exactly what's going on. Could I have the contractor up again? So we're going to make a site visit on this, just,
That's fine.
so that means that you can't do anything until, right? They can't do anything? You can't do anything else till we take a look. So we're going to meet again. We continue this till December 20th? 19th. So we'll see you again November 19th. We have a second roll call vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, okay? Yep, thank you. We now need to continue. 128 Newbury Street is being continued. Do you have that continue? Yep.
Read it into the record. This is an email from attorney Jack Kelty to Carla McGrath, and it is dated November 21st, 2021. And it reads, please accept this email as my request that the above captioned matter, 128R Newbury, be continued to December 20th, 2022. Thank you for your anticipated cooperation. John R. Kelty.
Should say the 19th. Oh, okay, that's fine. Motion to accept?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I need now a motion to accept the following. I need a motion to accept the following correspondences. Revised plans reflecting 180 units. 10/19/22 Nutter 128 Newbury extension request. 10/6/22 Langley memo with 10/5/22 MDM responses. 10/27/22 Horsley Witten peer review. And 11/21/22 Attorney Kelty continuance request. I need a second.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we will hear this again on, hopefully, on December 19th. Now, last but not least, we are up to the Tan Right Residence LLC, care of Attorney Jason Panos. Continued application. Before we begin, I'd like a motion to accept the following correspondence. 9/16/22 Langley memo with signed peer review agreements. 10/12/22 Langley memo with 10/7/22 HW Stormwater and Environmental peer review. 10/27/22 Horsley Witten peer review.
So moved.
All in favor? Any opposed? Attorney Panos.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Jason Panos, practicing law at 246 Andover Street,
I didn't
Peabody,
finish.
Massachusetts.
I will also need for you to submit an extension for the 180 days, and if you have it, give it to Ms. McGrath.
Okay, have you calculated when that date is up? I mean, okay, I'll get it.
Oh, when the date is up?
Yeah. No, I mean, am I past it, or?
You are not past.
Okay, good.
But we're close, so we need to.
Okay, sure.
All right, now, update.
No problem. So you may recall at the last hearing on October 17th that we indicated we would do a presentation on utilities. Since that time, as you noted, we received peer review comments from Horsley Witten on stormwater management in 21E. We have not delved into the details of that peer review, but we have looked at it, and there are some issues we need to resolve, but nothing major, given that it was our feeling from the beginning that probably one of the most critical and important peer reviews on this was going to be stormwater management, because we're tipping a floodplain. And we were satisfied, generally speaking, that the city and the applicant are pretty much on the same page with what we proposed. Tweaks around the edges, some additional testing, but we'll be in a position at the next hearing to talk with you in more detail about that. We are still, however, waiting for traffic, water tie-in, and wastewater tie-in peer reviews to come back. So hopefully that will come in the next month. But if it doesn't, we'll be in touch with Mr. Langley and hopefully get that going. So joining me tonight is Tony Capichetti from Hayes Engineering, who will give a brief overview of our utility tie-ins. Tony. Through the chair, of course.
Thank you. Tony Capichetti, Hayes Engineering, 603 Salem Street, Wakefield, Massachusetts, the civil engineer for the project. As Jason said, we did receive the stormwater comments. We addressed some of them in concept when we were here the last time. We've kind of been holding off on them because we were hoping to get some of the other comments to make sure that we try to issue one final set of plans instead of piecemeal it, but given the timing, we'll move forward on the stormwater comments and incorporate the others. As far as utilities go, as initially presented, I mean, this is a tannery, which was a very water-intensive use originally. At full build-out or full capacity, they were using close to 100,000 gallons per day of water and wastewater. The proposed development calls for 26,840 gallons per day of water and wastewater usage at the site. What they're using currently at their diminished capacity at the tannery is 13,000 gallons a day. So we're approximately doubling the usage from what's there currently, but about a quarter of what the high usage was when the factory was in full swing. So we don't have any fears that there'll be limited infrastructure capacity for water and wastewater in that area. We have provided tie-ins off of Upton Street, some additional gate valves and some improvements, 2 hydrants for the project. And we've been in touch with some of the abutters still, and one of them asked that I bring his concerns on the record. He was here the last time, Joe DeSalvo from Century Tire. We're looking at that intersection flooding. We're trying to resolve those issues, and we're getting some additional survey information to work on that, but he did ask that I put that on the record for him. So we're doing so for the abutter. As we said, we're trying to cooperate as much as possible with the neighborhood. So, thank you.
And for the record, he's Century Tire, so he's not a direct abutter, but across the street. But unfortunately, he's placed in an area of Walnut Street that experiences lots of flooding. So if we can help mitigate that, we will. And I would also add that we are the holders of probably one of the biggest water permits next to Rousselot in the city. So we have control over the capacity that would feed the expected water usage for the site. And we're trying to figure out currently what to do with the remainder of that water permit. It's been there. I think it was acquired actually by the elder family members who started this tannery back in the 40s and 50s. And so if we can turn that over to some benefit of some other property user, we will. But we're trying to figure out the legality of what we can do with that permit after we're done with satisfying our capacity. If there are any questions.
At this time, it doesn't seem, so we need a Motion to continue till December 19th.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We'll see you December 19th.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so I need a motion to accept the meeting minutes.
So moved.
All in favor? Any opposed? I need a motion to accept the 2023 Zoning Board of Appeals new meeting dates that you all have.
So moved.
All in
Second.
favor? Any opposed? Thank you, everybody. We are adjourned.